Okay, so I've just come across a report on CNN, which is quite interesting. Um, it shows two young people, and based on the flag that they're holding, they are Botswanans, I would guess. Anyway, it says these students want you to know Africa is not a country, and to learn more about where they come from. See more photos from their campaign. And there's this sort of tagline: Africans do not all look alike. Um, well, I can see the message they're trying to get out, because there is a sort of common lazy perception in other countries, and I guess because CNN they're focusing on the US, that Africa is all one place, and of course it isn't. It's a continent of, I think it's 56 countries. Um, for me, this is frustrating because I am a bit of a geography geek, and I've always had, without wanting to sound vain, I've always had a pretty good knowledge of geography, basic geography. And I would say I'm above average. So for me, it is frustrating when there needs to be such a campaign to spread awareness. One thing I noticed though was, in response to this, a lot of people were commenting and saying how ignorant Americans were, and not just African people, but people from um, other countries were saying, "Oh, Americans are this, Americans are that," and basically the insinuation was only Americans are ignorant. The truth is, this sort of geographic ignorance can be found everywhere. I mean, in the UK, there's an enormous amount of ignorance on basic geography, even the makeup of this country. And I do not know why they don't put it in our curriculum, because general knowledge on this is atrocious, I think. I mean, the United Kingdom is a sovereign state divided into four home nations: England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. But the average person on the street, they can't grasp that concept, and yet it's such a simple thing. Um, to them, they just talk about England this, England that, as if England's the only part that counts. And then the Scottish nationalists, of course, are Scottish centric. And then, I mean, I've had to deal with people throughout my life, sort of. If I say I'm from Belfast, they'll be like, "Oh, I was in Ireland once," and I'll have a smile and I'll be, "Oh, right, whereabouts?" "Oh, I was in Cork. It's lovely." I think, "Oh, I'm sure it is." Now, for me, I have to have a lot of patience, because I realise that there's not bad intentions. 99% of the time, when people are ignorant about geography, they're not doing it maliciously. It just is what it is, and you should take it at face value. It's a lack of knowledge, or it's just not thinking. But I don't think people call Africa Africa to try and be insulting. It's just a case of ignorance. I mean, in the context of calling Africa a country. I mean, if I was from Kenya or South Africa or Lesotho or Liberia, I'd find it somewhat insulting. But then again, if an outsider called me a European, I wouldn't feel offended, because I am a European. Um, so if you are from an African country and you're called an African, it's not inaccurate. That's You're from the continent of Africa. However, I can understand the concept here. But this is something that's people are very stubborn about it. I mean, people are also stubborn about my country. They think that England and the United Kingdom is an interchangeable term, and it's not helped by the fact that there's many people in the UK who also have that mentality. I've heard people say, "Oh, the English Prime Minister David Cameron, he's not the English Prime Minister. He's the British Prime Minister." Likewise, the English Queen. There's no such thing. There hasn't been a Queen of England since Queen Anne in 1714. She is Sovereign of the United Kingdom and Commonwealth Realm. That's her title. Um, so I just find that this sort of ignorance is stubborn, and you can't change people. You could try with the best intentions to spread knowledge, but I think, to be quite honest, and this is a cynical sort of attitude, but I think the people who will pay attention to that are the people who are already informed, because the people who aren't informed, I think, are too lazy to bother finding out. Um, and I know that's a cynical attitude, but I do believe that people who are ignorant enough to think Africa is a country are not going to spend time looking at what these students are trying to do. But then again, it works both ways, because I see a lot of lazy generalizations about Americans. Now, um, America is a hugely diverse country, and again, that's a contentious term. Some would say America is two continents, but if in common usage, we think America is the United States, so that will suffice. But, but, um, there is also a lot of generalizations about the United States, and I find if I was an American, I'd find that offensive, because there's 318 million people in the United States. It's the world's third most populous country, and arguably the most diverse. Um, so sometimes, even though I'm not an American, I take issue when people say all Americans are stupid. Of course they're not. I've had dialogue with some very intelligent Americans. Yes, okay, I can understand that there is a trend, that there is a lot of ignorance in the States about geography. I think that's fair enough, but you can't generalize any nationality. You can get common trends, I think, but you can't generalize any nationality. But there is another side to this, and that is political correctness. Now, what I mean by that is people shouldn't be too sensitive either when the other person is making... Okay, I can understand that it's frustrating when you can see someone's ignorance, but you also need to help spread knowledge. So I do support this campaign, despite my previous cynical comment. I do think it's well intentioned, and I think it's a good concept to spread knowledge. And I wish we would do it more here in the UK to spread the basic. I think we need to be proud of the four home nations. I mean, the whole Scottish independence thing is really, I think, caused a lot of problems, but it's I'm going off on a tangent now. But what I want to say basically is that people shouldn't be too sensitive either. I mean, take a scenario, right? Say somebody, you don't know where somebody is from, and you just ask, where are you from? Now, for some reason, some people take that question very offensively, that, where are you from? To me, that's a very normal sort of question if you meet someone for the first time. I don't know why some people find that take such an issue with it. Maybe they think that the other person's going to be prejudiced or something, but you should give people the benefit of the doubt. If someone is being friendly to you, then you should give them the benefit of the doubt and not be so sensitive about something as basic as that. I also think that here in the UK we also have, I think they need to change the census forms, because, for example, when we talk about Asian in the UK and the US has different meanings. In the US it means Chinese, in the UK it means Indian or Pakistani. Actually, both terms are inaccurate, both concepts. Asia is a continent, so technically speaking, Syrians are Asian as well. Asia's a vast continent, so what we should do, I think they should change that census form to be more accurate and talk about South Asians. So Indians and Pakistanis are South Asians, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, East Asians. I'm talking about the census return forms. But for some reason they just put Asian British and Chinese British, like they're two different things. But China is an Asian country, so I've never quite understood why they do that. I think they need to reevaluate that. So when you have those in authority who actually designate official ignorance, then what hope is there for everyone else? Because that would just be one example. But yeah, I mean, I do find it frustrating sometimes, but I also think people shouldn't be too sensitive, and you should take things at face value, i.e. if someone is clearly not trying to be, if they have good intentions, then okay, you can correct them or something, but I don't know, don't take it as an act of war against you. I mean, I do understand the frustration, because I felt it myself many times, and of course I get fed up when a lot of people in England can't seem to tell that Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland are two different countries, at least for now. Now I know people in the Republic of Ireland take issue with that, but I'm just talking about the way it is now. And the way it is now is Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom. Now, the number of times I've said to people I'm from Northern Ireland and they find that intermittent with Irish, ethnically, okay, I am Irish, but nationally, I'm British, and I'm proud to be so. So I find it frustrating when people can't tell the difference. And it is frustrating because they forget that actually I'm from the same country as them. I mean, I remember a woman recently, it was a Christmas dinner I went to, and she was making small talk, and she just said, "Oh, there's some Irish students in it." I said, "All right, okay. Which part of Ireland are they from?" And she said they were from the Republic of the South. And she kept pushing like I should talk to them because in her mind I was Irish. But I mean, I would talk to them in the sense of being friendly to them, in the sense of being friendly to everyone else who was there. This is an international social club. But what frustrated me is the woman seemed to think I was an international student, and even after telling her, she insisted on it. Like, oh, you can go to talk to them now. And she kept, and the thing is, she was being friendly, so I couldn't, again, I had to take it at face value. She was being friendly, she was like, you know, Sunderland has many interesting things to see and so on. I'm like, yes, I know, I've been here for 14 years. This is my city. And she was being so stubborn, and yet, at the same time, so friendly, so you know, when you have a situation where someone is trying to be friendly, but they're showing ignorance at the same time, it's very difficult because you don't want to seem too cold, and you don't want to seem like you're being unfriendly, but you're hearing the ignorance and anyway, I just think this is part of human nature. I mean, for me, maybe I find it especially frustrating because I am a geography geek and I do take these things quite seriously. But I also try to recognise that if people have good intentions, I try to take that for what it is. Now, if someone's deliberately taking the piss, that's different. But if someone has good intentions, sometimes I'll correct them, sometimes I won't bother. Yes, I do find it frustrating, but that's just the way it is. Also, if you're from a part of the world where there is complex geopolitical situation, then you can't expect people to know exactly the situation. I think you do have a responsibility to explain it to them rather than expect them to automatically know, because the truth is there are parts of the world where there is maybe an armed conflict going on, or not necessarily a conflict, but let's say geopolitical complexities. We have two sides competing over land. Now, if you're an outsider, what term is acceptable, because you risk offending the other side if you use certain terminology. So, I mean, a good example of that would be Taiwan. It's my understanding that, of course, in the People's Republic of China, they see Taiwan as one of their provinces. People in Taiwan. Now, this caused an awkward situation for me because I was speaking to two young women from Taiwan, and I mentioned to them, well, is the official, do you call yourselves the Republic of China officially? Because it was my understanding that that is the case. And they weren't offended, but they did say, no, 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 it's Taiwan, Taiwan. I said, okay, fair enough. But that caused some confusion for me because officially I've always seen Taiwan, the Taiwanese government call themselves the Republic of China. It was my understanding that after the Chinese Civil War, when the nationalists moved there, when the Kuomintang government moved there, they saw themselves as the real China, and they called themselves the Republic of China. So I guess Taiwan is the official name nowadays, except in official documents that doesn't seem to be the case. But anyway, the message I would want to send out is people should try to inform themselves about geography, because you can find that you're offending someone with ignorance. On the other hand, people shouldn't be too sensitive, and they shouldn't take it aggressively if someone's making an honest mistake. So it's a bit of both, really. People should inform themselves, but at the same time, people shouldn't be too sensitive. So for me, for example, yes, I get annoyed when people think that England and the UK are an intermittent term. Yes, I get annoyed when people in England think that Northern Ireland is another country. It's not. It's part of the United Kingdom. And they cannot grasp the concept of Northern Irish. Yes, those things annoy me, but I don't think you can force people to be. Ignorance is part of being a human being. It's just like, there will be subjects that I have very little knowledge on, and I guess people who are informed about those subjects would find my ignorance frustrating. So I just have to accept that ignorance is part of being a human being, and everyone is ignorant to some extent. Let me know your thoughts. Is there a part of the world you're from, maybe people often misinterpret that? If you've had personal experience of this, I'd be very happy to hear your views. Okay, thanks for watching.